What's up everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm sorry that a video did not get uploaded last week. I was in Florida with family, just didn't have the time to sit down and make a video, so it's been 2 weeks since you all have seen a video. I apologize, but in this video today, I'm just calling it Ask Me Anything. So on Instagram, I posted a question sticker and told you guys you can ask me anything you want. And I got some really good questions that I'm going to answer today in this video. I haven't really prepared any answers for them. I've glanced over them. There are a lot of really good questions, especially for the pre-PA students and current PA students. So if you're in one of those categories, you need to especially, and it's probably gonna be a long video, try to watch all the way to the end. I'll try to be entertaining the whole time, but there's gonna be some really good information that you guys are not gonna wanna miss. Without further ado, ask me anything. Very first question comes from Sageda96. When are you gonna land a PA job? What you mean, Sageda? I have a PA job. I'm gonna be working in ortho this fall. So the job is already in line, just gotta get my license and everything before I start. Next question comes from Fletcher Reyna. Most challenging undergrad class. I would have to, most challenging undergraduate class. I really thought that organic chemistry and, did I take biochem? No, I dropped biochem because I got accepted to PA school and didn't need it. So it probably would have been biochem had I taken it, but it was actually biology 2, I think. It was a lot of in-depth information about plants and how they survive and what different leaves look like and how they reproduce. It was just like biology on steroids, and I knew none of it was applicable to my future, and I dreaded the class every day. There was a lab associated with it, which was like 4 hours long, just looking at different plants and different species of plants, and under the microscope and having to identify. It would be like comparable to identifying different connective tissues in a human, but in a plant, and that was awful. Fletcher Rain, a follow-up question. Opinion on the Texas A&M Aggies? Go Cats. That's all I've got to say. R. Devin asks, why PA over NP? Well, I knew more about the PA profession going into it when I was starting to apply and get all of my prerequisite courses. And to become a nurse practitioner, you have to take the nursing route, and I didn't want to become a nurse first. I wanted more of the medical model. I wanted to be trained by doctors and physicians and DOs, so that's why I chose the PA route. Nolan Scott, how did you decide between PA and MD/DO? I have a video about this called PA versus MD, which I go into a lot of depth on how I made my decision, but to keep it short for this video, my brother is a PA, so I was very familiar with the profession. I didn't want to go through 7+ years of schooling. I didn't want to be $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 in debt and student loans with medical school, and PAs still get paid a pretty good salary without having to go through all that extra stuff, so that's why I chose PA. JJ Manzuk 21, what's something on apps that's often overlooked but it's actually important? I would say your supplemental applications, and especially those questions that you're asked on CASPA from those individual schools. A lot of times once you get to that part of your application, you've already written your personal statement. It feels like you've jumped through hundreds and hundreds of hurdles and loops just to get to this, and the last thing you want to do is write any more essays. They are really important for those individual programs because that is one way that that program can ask you a question that's pointed directly at them and see how you respond to it. So you don't want to blow those questions off. You want to give them a lot of thought, and you want to have a really good answer for them. So the supplemental essay questions are really, really important. Marianne Sanchez, how early can you start your CASPA application? Will it save your info, letters of recommendation, hours, etc.? Say that you want to start your application, but you're not ready to apply this year. You just want to get a head start. There are certain things that will transfer. I'm pretty sure your hours do transfer. Your letters of recommendation do not transfer. Your experiences transfer. Your personal statement does not transfer. If you Google CASPA FAQs reapplicant, you can figure out what will transfer and what won't. So if you want to get a head start and put stuff in your application just so you can forward it over to next year's cycle when it starts, you can do that. Just pay attention to what will actually transfer and what won't. CASPA's website will have a lot more information on that for you. Johnny D. Farrell, what's the process like finding a job as a new grad? I actually had my job lined up when I was going through rotation, so I don't necessarily have a good answer for you as far as the process of finding a new job after you graduate from PA school. I can tell you by living vicariously through my friends, who I think a majority of them now have jobs, It's essentially just going on ZipRecruiter, Indeed, all of those websites, putting your name out there, applying to a bunch of different jobs. I think what's really helped my friends is that they weren't necessarily nailed down to a specific region. They're applying for jobs in Kentucky, Alabama, Indiana, Illinois, South Carolina, pretty much anywhere that there's a specialty that they're interested in, they're putting their name out there and applying. And a lot of them have had multiple interviews. Like I said, some of them have jobs, a few of them don't, but they've had a lot of interviews. So I would say as a new graduate, try not to be too specific in what you want to go into. You can do that, it's just gonna take you a little bit longer to find a job. Like say you wanna go into dermatology and you wanna be in the Dallas area. It's probably gonna take you a lot longer to find a job versus another new graduate who wants to go into critical care or something and they don't care where they get a job. There's a lot more options out there for them, so just keep that in mind. Fabanero Pepper asks, what made you go the PA route? Again, like I said, I had a lot of exposure to the PA profession through my brother, so I felt like I knew it pretty well. I didn't want to spend 7 years going through medical school and then residency, 7+ years. I didn't want to be in that much debt. I wanted to get out of school much sooner than what would happen had I gone to medical school. And honestly, medical school wasn't much of a thought. It was always the PA route. Marisol Soriano asks, how many chemistry courses did your PA program require to apply? I gotta go to UK's website and figure that out. Admissions, general chemistry with lab 1 and 2, and organic chemistry with lab. Those are the only chemistries, which I kind of thought, but I wanted to look it up just to be sure. So yeah, 2 gen chems with lab and then 1 OChem with lab. Harold Sanchez asks, if you don't mind, what's the starting salary for an ortho PA and what did they start you at? Well, I don't feel comfortable sharing what I'm exactly starting at, but I will say the starting salary is around 90 to 100,000 or so, and I'm starting around that. We'll just say that. Andrew Chow, did you ever consider becoming a nurse practitioner over a PA? Currently deciding for myself. Again, no, I didn't. Nursing school was honestly never a thought for me, and in retrospect, I really give those a lot of credit who go the nursing route and then become PAs, because becoming a nurse, that is a hard undergraduate track, much harder than like exercise science or even biology or chemistry. Like, you're learning a ton about nursing in those 4 years, and to be able to graduate with your BSN, assuming that's what most people do, get your BSN and then decide that you also want to go on to PA school, that's a lot of intense schooling, so props to you that do it. Rebecca Beebe, any other PAs in the family? Of course, my brother. Singer 95, would you say PA responsibilities are similar or different to that from nurses? Very different. So nurses have their own set of responsibilities regardless of the setting. PA's responsibilities are much more in line with that of a physician's. So the easiest way to think of it is kind of like a hierarchy, to where you have your physicians, your PAs and nurse practitioners, and then your nurses. So the nurses will report to the PAs, the DNPs, and then to the physicians. So in my orthopedic clinic, for example, the PAs and the nurse practitioners, we all see our own patients just like the physicians in the clinic do. I mean, our responsibilities are pretty much identical. It's hard to tell who is who when you're in the clinic. But say a patient comes in with osteoarthritis, it's a new patient, the nurse will bring them back, work them up, get a very brief history, fill out the little template sheets that we have, so that I know why the patient's there. Hey, it's a 59-year-old female, right knee pain for 8 months, haven't really tried anything yet. She's wanting to know if she can start an injection today, cortisone, whatever. All right, so I will go in the room, see that patient, do my history, do a physical exam, make sure that it is osteoarthritis, look over the x-ray, and then tell the nurse, hey, we're gonna do cortisone, right knee. Nurse will prep that for me. While the nurse is prepping that, I'm seeing someone else. I come back, give the injection, nurse cleans up, walks them out. That's basically how one patient encounter would work between a PA and a nurse. Sorry if that's too much detail for you guys, I just thought that would help going into it. Meg Flynn, what's the best way to get patient contact hours? I also have a video specifically on this, but anything that's direct and paid patient care experience is going to be the most competitive thing that you can do. You don't have to have a certification, you don't have to become an EMT or CNA, but it's gonna help you find jobs I'd recommend doing it. I was a CNA. It wasn't very hard. It wasn't a hard certification to get, and the job itself was pretty easy. So anything direct and hands-on is what you're looking for when applying to PA school. MGVL8 asks, what surprised you the most about your application process? I honestly think it was just the amount of time that it took to apply to all the schools. I applied to 11 programs. By the time you get into it and you're working through what CASPA wants from you and then what every individual supplemental application wants from you, it does take a lot of time. So by the time I started my application in late April to the time I submitted it, which was the first week of June, I was working on that thing every single day. So I would just say the amount of time it takes to finally complete your application to submit it. She also asked, what's your advice on writing the personal statement? So I have a video on this as well. I know this video is getting long, so I won't go into that, but I do have a video on writing your personal statement, so definitely go check that out. Jenna Wiki, great question. Will anyone ask me about my PA school grades and job interviews? Not a chance. No one will ask you about a single grade you got as long as you pass the PANCE. That's all that matters. Aisha Simone, how's the renovations going? They're going. Every day we get closer and closer to moving in. It just feels like there are 1,000 ongoing projects, but the cabinets are coming in a few weeks. The floors are gonna be laid soon, so hopefully we are in within a month. Hopefully, I'm praying. Hopefully it happens. Colin Miller 9 asks, when did you know that you wanted to be a PA? Honestly, it wasn't until my sophomore year of undergrad. I started out as a freshman in CMIS, learning how to code in C++. Totally opposite, I know. I don't know what I was doing in that class. I dropped it. I was undecided for the next, 6 to 12 months or so. And then I transferred schools, found exercise science as a major. Then I decided maybe physical therapy was right for me. And in talking with my brother and just figuring out exactly what he did, I finally found out that the PA profession is something that I found really interesting, and that's when I started to pursue it. So it wasn't until my sophomore year of undergrad. So if you're in college right now, if you're a freshman or you're going into college and you don't have a major picked out, you're totally fine. You're gonna be okay. There's plenty of time to get your courses in. You can take summer classes. It's gonna be okay. Jason Matz asks, is going to PA school in the city where you want to work or live important? Yes and no. On rotations, you're gonna make a lot of connections. You're gonna network with a ton of PAs, maybe some nurse practitioners, and a lot of physicians. So yes, if you wanna get a job in the city that you're going to PA school, it's going to be a little bit easier just because you have all those local connections. But I would say a lot of my friends are not staying in Lexington for their jobs. Everyone is finding jobs elsewhere. So does it really matter in the end? I don't know. I would say it does make it a little bit easier though if you're going to work in the city that you go to school. Kim Bally, if you could redo something in regards to your schooling, what would it be? I've thought about this multiple times, and I always felt like I wasn't as well prepared as my classmates going into PA school because of my patient care experience. I was a CNA in a nursing home, and I had little to no exposure as far as all things medicine goes. I was great with nursing tasks, but I didn't work alongside PAs or doctors. There was an occasional nurse practitioner that would come in and see a patient, but I had no exposure to any kind of procedures, IVs, suturing, nothing like that. So if you can get a job in a hospital, absolutely do it. I applied for jobs for like 6 months and no one would hire me because I didn't have any experience. All right, sorry guys, camera died on me, got too hot, and the battery is now at 9%. So finally, to wrap up this question, get a job in a hospital if you can. It's going to set you up much better in terms of the quality of your patient care experience for PA school. You're just gonna see a lot more and be a lot more prepared. Alexanders asks, can you talk about the student loans that you took out for PA school? Yes, so whenever I was applying, the average cost for PA school was around $80,000. So you can expect to take that much out in loans. I did all of mine through FAFSA. You can take out $20,500 each year. My family also loaned me the remainder of that money that FAFSA didn't cover, so I have to pay back loans to the government and to my family. Also, if you are single and you're in PA school, keep in mind that you're gonna need money to live off of. You're gonna need to pay rent, utilities, buy groceries, go out on the weekends. So there's gonna be more than just tuition and textbooks that you're gonna need to pay for. So while the cost of PA school is like this fixed number, you also have all these other expenses to stay on top of. Jay Markowitz, 12, Did you ever consider being a nurse, or was PA always the goal? PA was always the goal. S. Bernetti, 13. When are you and Chelsea gonna have kids? Boy, we got Ollie. What else you need? Elias asks, how hard are the interviews? I see on school sites 100 plus will apply and only a few get accepted. So if I'm remembering right, whenever I applied to UK, I think over 200 people were, or just under 200 people were interviewed, and 56 students were selected. So yes, it is highly competitive. Elias also asks, what's a good amount of schools to apply to? 7 is the average, so 7 is a good amount to apply to. Corey Keene asks, when applying to PA school, do students apply at the end of their junior year or their senior year? So you will apply at the end of your junior year. It's a little confusing. You apply at the end of your junior year because programs will begin to interview you in the fall of your senior year and then start sending out letters of acceptance in the fall as well. They'll also interview all the way until like early spring, late winter. So by the time you're in your senior year, you're interviewing. The only time you need to kind of think about applying your senior year is if you're really interested in a school that starts in January. So if there's a program that starts in January, you can't apply to that school at the end of your junior year. It'll have to be at the end of your senior year. Hope that makes sense. Just leave me a comment below if you're confused about that. Bell Arkfeld asks, what type of orthopedic surgeries will you be doing at your new job? I'm not entirely sure what surgeries I'll be doing, but if it's anything like the orthopedic surgeon or the orthopedic spine surgeon that we have now, it'll be SI joint fusions, discectomies, laminectomies, anything with the spine essentially. Pre-Med John, what's your favorite Chicago sports team? Can only pick one. I pick 0. I'm from Southern Illinois. St. Louis fan, sorry. Florian Dannert, how hard is it for international students to get into PA school? That's a good question. I don't honestly know. You do have to take the TOEFL, basically your proficiency for the English language. I know you do have to take that. That's different than like a domestic PA student here in the US, but it shouldn't be any harder than the students here in the United States. You have to have all the prereqs, you have to have a bachelor's degree. It should be pretty similar. Last but not least, Sam C asks how to get ready for the GED and what to study mostly about. Just buy yourself a good GED prep book by Kaplan or any of those publishers. Give yourself a solid month or so, a solid concerted study effort. Spend a few hours every single day prepping for it. Take practice tests. Camera died again, so as I was saying, practice tests are really important. A GRE prep book is solid. The only thing that you need to worry about with the GRE is scoring a 300. You don't have to have a 300. Some schools will require it. Others will just say around a 300. That wraps up this video finally. Props to y'all that stuck around to this point. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the answers to these questions were very helpful, and thank you to everyone that submitted a question. If I missed one by chance, 1 or 2, I might have DM me. I'll try and answer it on Instagram or comment below, whichever you prefer to do. So again, thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.